DynamoDB RCUs and WCUs. The RCUs are the read capacity units, or in its abbreviations, the RCU. The WCU are the write capacity units, or in its abbreviation, the WCU. They are both spread equally, as much as possible equally, in between the partitions. Basically, every time we make an API call to read data from our DynamoDB, this is a single RCU if it's on a second basis. Okay, this is a read request. And one RCU in general means, not always. We'll see why not always. In general, it means one read per second. Because as we saw, read requests to DynamoDB can be either strongly consistent, eventually consistent, or transactional. So if we put a limitation, let's say that our item is up to 4 kilobytes in size and is going to be in a strongly consistent read request per second. This can be done in one RCU. Why? Because we didn't pass the limit of the row of the item size, which is 4 kilobytes, and therefore we can use a strongly consistent read request 1 per second. If we had a larger item, larger than 4K, then we would need more than one RCU. Now, note, if we said that for strongly consistent read, we need only one RCU to fetch items which are up to 4 kilobytes from DynamoDB. Then, for eventual consistent reads, we could fetch even more. So, if we use eventual consistent reads for items which are up to 4 kilobytes in size from DynamoDB, then we can even have two of them for one RCU. So one RCU can serve two eventual consistent reads to DynamoDB if the item is less than 4 kilobytes. I repeat, one RCU can make one strongly consistent read from DynamoDB for items which are up to 4 kilobytes. However, one RCU can make two eventual consistent reads from DynamoDB for items which are up to 4 kilobytes in size. In general, when we talk about transactions, let's say transactions to read items from transactional, read, okay, the whole transaction must complete or not the atomic as we know it. Then we need two RCUs to perform one read request per second for items up to 4 kilobytes. Why is that? Because the first RCU would be to prepare. This is the two-phase commit. Two-phase, two reads, two RCU. One prepare to read from DynamoDB and another one to do the actual reading. If the item is more than 4 kilobytes, then we need two RCUs in order to make a strongly consistent read of this item which is more than 4 kilobytes. And of course, this depends on its size. So if it's up to twice the size of 4 kilobytes, then we would need up to two RCUs to get them. However, as we said that we can make two reads of eventual consistent items up to 4 kilobytes, this means that we need only one RCU and one read to get one item which is larger than 4 kilobytes or up to twice than 4 kilobytes, because we could get with eventual consistency two items up to 4 kilobytes from DynamoDB. So if the item itself is up to twice of 4 kilobytes, let's say 8 kilobytes, then we can get one item in eventual consistent read from DynamoDB. So this was a brief summary about the size of the item in DynamoDB, whether it's 4 kilobytes or 8 kilobytes or twice, whether we do an eventual consistent. If we do an eventual consistent, then if the item is up to 4 kilobytes, we can do 2 eventual consistent reads. However, for transaction reads, we would need 2 phase commits, so we would need 1 and 2 reads for the RCU. And if the item is an eventual consistent read, and it's double the amount of 4 kilobytes, 8 kilobytes, then we can have 1 eventual consistent read in one RCU. So with that RCU, see you next time.